Hi everyone, I'm Tomasz Wykowski and I'm leading Zmorph sales for more than a year now. First of all, thanks for inviting me, and I think it will be really hard to catch up with Jekyll after this great presentation. But I'm here to tell you more about Zmorph as a company, as a product, and I'd like to share with you some of our experiences for the last 12 months, how we managed to grow, how we scaled up, and how we did our international business development. So the sales department isn't the whole company, but the whole company better be the sales department. It's not probably Philip Kotler's quote, but he made it famous, and that's what we're really trying to do at Zmorph. So we're trying to make product development, product itself, production, marketing, and customer service more sales-oriented. Why? Because without sales, there's no growth. And without growth, we have no customers who would like to buy our products. And Zmorph is currently a well-known brand in 3D printing industry. And we're operating in almost 50 countries right now. And we have quite a good press. And by good press, I mean an article in The Verge, which came out just on Monday. So we were called the beautiful 3D printer which belongs on a spaceship. And I think we shouldn't look for a better quote if we want to think about ourselves as a leader in the 3D printing industry. So James and Vincent, in that article, he also mentioned that our design is comparable to Apple products from the beginning of the millennium. I think that's even more flattering. And we're doing all that by ourselves in Wrocław. So there's more than 45 people employed right now in Wrocław. We have our own production, we have our own R&D center, marketing team, servicing team, customer support, sales team, obviously. But we're also assembling all our products in Poland. That means that we are exporting over 90% of what we manufacture. And that export rate is just immense, to be honest. How was 2015 for us? Briefly, we tripled our sales revenue from selling our product, and we quadrupled the number of resellers that we have. And our business strategy is focused on resellers. So that growth in resellers number actually helped us to grow our sales revenue. That's why it's so important. We have invested heavily in 2015 in international business development. So we were traveling the world. We were at different trade shows, at fairs. We even spent 2 months together with Arkley in San Francisco, making sure that we are doing everything we can to scale up. But it all starts with a product. And our product, the greatest feature of our product is the innovation that we brought to the 3D printer. We came up with a unique system of interchangeable tool heads so that you can turn an FDM 3D printer into a totally different machine in just minutes. So it's not only for prototyping at the moment, it's also for short-scale production. And with that printer, we can actually do regular 3D printing with single materials. We can do multi-material 3D printing. We can even print with flexible filaments. And those things are not accessible to most of the 3D printers on the market. What we did, we actually added some extra features like CNC milling, CNC cutting, laser engraving, and we can also print with porcelain, chocolate, or ceramics. So we came up with an innovation not accessible to other products on the market. Actually, if you want to take hands on the sample, it's right here. So you can see actually all of that was created on our machine. Actually, it wasn't one process. It took us a couple hours to do it, but we did an additive and subtractive process while producing the sample, all on our one machine. But coming back to developing sales, our mentors in US always told us that the first thing we have to do is to do our homework. And by that, I mean market research. So you have to know who is your competition, what's your product, to who you are going to sell your product, what are your base customers, what are your potential future customers. You have to know how the market works in order to fit in with your offer. You have to know your strengths and weaknesses, and you have to know the strengths and weaknesses of your competitors in order to have the right position and keep everything in place in order to grow sales. So knowing your market is important, and that you can do by yourself, by making research on day-to-day basis. But we all know that managing resources, especially at a hardware startup, at an early stage, is very difficult. Because it's not only about selling, it's also about manufacturing. And that's why you have to focus, you have to choose. And without the research I was mentioning before, you cannot actually make the right choice. So sales follow business development. And if you have limited resources, you have to think about which channel brings the most revenue to your sales. Or which may bring the biggest revenue in your sales in the future. So it all comes to a distribution model. So every product, every hardware startup is always facing the same problem. Like they have some wants and haves. They want to be present in retail networks like Best Buy or Target. They want to sell on Amazon, on other online marketplaces. They want to be present locally through Resellers Network, or maybe they want to distribute through wholesalers. But there's always a limit of what you can do at a certain stage of development. So you have some prices. You have some margins and some discounts you are willing to give away to your resellers, potential resellers. There's some product availability. There's some scale of production you can handle. So maybe you can just sell locally through the first months and years of your existence. And you want to scale up to be a worldwide, a globally known brand as soon as possible. There's always a packaging and logistics problems you have to solve in order to be widely accessible. And let me comment on a few of those aspects quite briefly. We knew as Zmorph that we are not ready for retail stores in 2015. That's why we didn't even chase for putting our products at that shelves. We knew that our product is quite complicated to use, as 3D printing is quite fresh on the market. So we knew that the best strategy we can take is actually develop our sales through Resellers Network. Talking about packaging and logistics, our product is quite heavy. It takes up to 30 kilograms. It's in a big box. So it's really hard to put it in a retail store, but it's also hard to ship it all over the world. Right now, we sell from New Zealand, Australia, through South Africa, Hong Kong, Singapore, Middle East, US, Brazil, all around the world. So we had to come up what is the best choice for shipping options, actually to get the product shipped as cheap as possible so that we can keep relatively the same price of the end product on every market. That's why we used containers for shipping to US. That's why we are shipping on pallets, big batches of devices, to China, for example. Coming back to online sales, like everyone knows Amazon. It's a big marketplace to sell. It's a global marketplace, actually. So you can either sell to Amazon or through Amazon, and both ways are equally fine. What you may not know is that after you sell to Amazon, they can do whatever they want with your product. And that happened to one of our partners in US. So after they bought a certain number of printers, it wasn't Zmorph, fortunately, they actually decided to sell it out under the real costs of buying that product. What this meant, Reseller Network got really angry because it was unfair competition from Amazon, and they didn't care because they have really global scale. So you have to be careful while choosing your partners and choosing your distribution channels, especially on the early stage. So what about our strategy? We choose the reseller-oriented strategy for our company. By the way, all these photos you see in the background, they are all case studies made on Zmorph. So here is, for example, a strap for the watch, laser engraved with a Zmorph toolhead, the laser module. One of my first decisions when I came to Zmorph was actually boosting prices by 15 or up to even 20%. So everyone competes with the price on the market. We want to be as available as possible. Why should we actually increase prices? Because we wanted to get into Resellers Network. And with these higher prices, we're able to give bigger discounts, bigger margins. It was easier to negotiate with resellers, but the moment the product started to be available locally in Asia or in South America, more customers appeared. So it's not only about the price, it's always about the margin you can give away to a certain sales channels you're choosing. We had to provide special and dedicated trainings for the distributors. And we came up with a program called Train the Trainers. So distributors were training resellers who trained end users and customers. And we were doing that in our headquarters. We are doing that in their facilities. We are doing that by Skype online. We also came up with a dedicated platform with editable marketing materials, manuals, this kind of stuff, so that we could handle actually same requests easily with one platform accessible to everyone at once. Scale of activity, same thing. Last year, when we got an order reaching 10 units, 10 printers at once from one partner, it was pretty amazing for us. Right now, we are facing orders reaching 50 units at once, coming from biggest distributors, and we are extremely excited. But we know that orders reaching hundreds of units are coming this year. So it's really hard to grow constantly. Sometimes you have to jump from one stage to another, and you have to decide whether you want to invest and become a globally known brand and cut costs of your product so that you can be more affordable. Or maybe if you don't do it, you will always stuck in the same stage of development, which you don't want, probably. Same with payments. All the sales, big sales distribution channels, they don't want to pay in advance. So we gave them, for example, 30-day net payments. What they did, they were coming back to us asking for more products because they had more time to pay us back. So we were giving them time. We are investing our own money. We're manufacturing more, and it add up in bigger sales. And logistics, which I was recommending before, switching from a typical DHL shipping company to UPS dedicated services and even containers while shipping to US. That was something that helped us to make everyone satisfied. End users with the price they're buying the products, resellers being safe about the product availability, and us being certain that we can get the product out there the moment we want to. But the sales team, that's really important. I was mentioning the market research. I was mentioning the strategy you have to choose. I was mentioning the resources you have to know, what you're dealing with, the distribution channels you have to know before you actually end up selling to someone. But you also need right people to do it. Sales is always about the people who sell and the people to who you sell to. So we needed certain skills. For example, key account managers who knew how to deal with big distributors on different international markets. We needed international business development skills, people who could actually know how to operate in Mexico or in China or in South Africa, acquiring new resellers and new distributors. And there's always motivation which is driving actually their work. So we came up with a bonus model for whole sales and marketing team. And because of that, they were actually working together and collaborating on the same goal because they knew that they cannot do it individually, that they have to collaborate. And marketing. So it all comes back to the marketing where you have to advertise your product. And at Zmorph, we are preparing different marketing strategies, different marketing materials, set of materials for our end users, for the customers we want to reach, and for those all distribution networks I was mentioning before. You need separate B2B materials. You need different communication. It has to be tuned. It has to be adjusted and adapted. And we are doing everything in-house, so it's quite difficult to come up with the right solution every time. It's just time-consuming. But in the end, we always have the right result. That's why we have just launched our new website. And it took us long months, but finally, it's the great result we always wanted. Because of our limited resources, we are also doing all the R&D research and development ourselves. And it's all connected. Like when you're trying to be the best on the market, when you're trying to launch a new product, what we actually did last week, we were facing a deadline that we had to keep. And even one day before the launch, we were still struggling with decisions whether we want to advertise one feature or not, what to keep secret, what to release to public, and whether a few weeks later we will end up having that feature in a full production. So it's always a balance between the risk you have to bear as a hardware company, developing really complicated, innovative hardware, and the marketing, what you are selling to your customers. And you don't want to overpromise what you're selling. So we never did Kickstarter campaign, we never did Indiegogo campaign, nothing like that. Our company started with selling a few machines a month, now selling tens and probably selling hundreds in a couple of months from now. But the marketing is essential, and just to have to diversify the marketing you are targeting to reseller network or your end users. And local approach. So this is actually a screenshot of a website in Chinese about Zmorph made by our partner in Hong Kong. They're our main distributor actually for China, and they did that. It's actually available at zmorph3d.ch and also .com.hk, like a Hong Kong one. So it happens in France, in Germany, in Brazil. It happens in China. It happens in Singapore. All our partners are getting engaged into making Zmorph more local. And by more local, I'm not only thinking about translation of marketing materials or manuals, I'm also talking about terms and conditions for selling, because that's different for each market. For example, we need an FCC certificate for US. There's a different certificate we need for Indian market when we want to sell there our 3D printers. And also payment options for end users and customers. So leasing options, I don't know, some partial payments, all of that is accessible through our resellers network, and we don't have to get engaged in that. We are just giving them editable materials and giving them options, and they are dealing with end users on our behalf and preparing those amazing websites. for example. Customer support is the crucial thing. You as a hardware company, you should always focus on after-sales process. The sales is as good as the customer support that follows the sales you did. So train the trainers program I've mentioned before. Warranty. We have to deal with 12 months warranty worldwide when we sell our product. And we want our distributors to handle the repairs. We want them to talk to the customer, provide maintenance. And that's why you have to train them. That's why you have to work with them on a daily basis. And that's why we're inviting them to Wrocław to take up those trainings, or we're flying to different regions. Like, for example, next trip we have next month in Dubai to train our biggest distributor for Middle East. It's really crucial because happy customer who's happy with the customer support you're delivering will recommend your product in the future or will come by for the next version, which you'll release in the future. We have also built a knowledge base, which is right now available in English, but it took us some time to understand that the manual you're delivering with the product, it's not essential. You have to make videos available on YouTube for the user because people are more used to use digital information, which is always up to date online, than going through 100 pages manuals. So we had to design tools for our resellers to actually make the translations now for local languages, as we wanted that customer support to be as good as we provided in Poland. So my ending, my 4 tips, how to get your sales growing. You should focus on marketing materials and think about crafting those materials to particular user. You should focus on production, on product quality, on product development. You should focus on customer support and the quality of customer support you are delivering, the satisfaction that comes from that customer support. And sales will follow. Sales will follow if you set up the distribution network and sales network right. So that's all from me. I just want to say that we are rapidly growing. That's why as Zmorph, we are constantly hiring. If you'd like to help us grow, if you have any questions, let me know. That's my email. And once again, thanks for inviting me.